Good morning, everyone. Happy OT month. I woke up and I got on Facebook and I got all these reminders that it was OT month, and I just woke up thinking about what that is and what OT means to me and what I do as an OT, and how much I love this profession, just how much I love it and how cool I think it is that this gets to be our job. And I just woke up really grateful and excited and just happy to be able to do this. And it made me kind of think about how I got into this, and also talking to other people about what we do, because even today, even with PTs that I work with, when I'm out in the field, sometimes they'll come up to me and they'll say Erica, I don't really know how to ask you this, but I don't actually know what you do. And I don't want anyone to be afraid to ask us what we do, because that's the only way that you can know and learn. And especially if you're another clinician and you're going out there to treat patients and they ask you what's the difference between OT and PT, or what's the difference between OT and PT and speech, and what does nursing do, then you'll have an intelligible answer, and you'll know for yourself sort of how we differentiate and how we can work together. That happens all the time in home health. I'd say every patient I have to explain the difference between OT, PT, SLP, and nursing. And then the patient feels good because they leave with a better understanding, and they can advocate for themselves and pick and choose which clinicians they feel that they need to work with. So it's just good to know. So I just wanted to kind of open up the conversation to what OT is and what we do, so that if anyone is afraid to ask, then I can tell you right here. And I can also tell you that if you have questions, please ask the OTs. We're pretty nice people usually, and we want to tell you about it. We're excited about what we do. I got into OT. I didn't always know I was going to be an OT for sure. My undergrad is in, my bachelor's is in psychology and business, and I had planned on being a psychologist. That was my plan, and I had applied and I got waitlisted, and I thought well, I don't want to wait on this. What am I going to do? And I was talking to this really cool girl in one of my classes, and she said she was getting her master's in occupational therapy. And I said, I know what occupational therapy is. I've been a nanny for 10 years. I'm a foster mom. My foster son, Aiden, that I had at the time, he's on the spectrum. And, the OT that I know that treats the kids, she hates her job, and she says she doesn't make much money, and I don't want to do that. And this girl was no, you need to get another resource on this, because that's not how it is. So I looked it up. I looked at it, and people loved their jobs, really, and they did fine. They made great money, and I would be able to do what I really loved, which at the time was doing habilitation with Aiden. So Aiden came to us when he was just turning 6. He was almost 6 when he came to us, and he's on the spectrum, and he didn't speak. He wasn't talking. Getting his shoes on was a 45-minute ordeal. There were a lot of challenges that Aiden was facing, and I systematically went through his schedule week by week. He spent half the week with me and half the week with his paternal grandfather, whom I love dearly. Nathan, I love you. And I would do social skills training with him. So one week we would do, manners, holding the door open for people, or taking turns, or putting your dishes in the sink. One week we would do hygiene. This is how we wash our body, because these are things he was challenged with. We'd get in the shower, in the tub, and he wouldn't know to wash his whole body. And just each week, different levels of responsibility. And so that's what I would do with him, and I absolutely loved it, and I saw so much progress in him. And today, he's 16 and he's driving, and he has friends and girlfriends and talks all the time. And that was just amazing to see what that dedicated therapy could do for someone and how it could change their life. And that was so cool. And so, so I applied right then to the occupational therapy program at Florida Gulf Coast University, and I got in, and sorry, my mouth is dry, and this is what I've been doing since. And so it's interesting, you know, OT is so broad. So I went into it thinking like, I knew that I had learned that you could travel as an OT. And when I heard that, I was like, done, I'm 100% in, that is for me. And then I realized traveling as an OT, you can't really work in pediatrics, especially not in like specialized habilitation for kids on the spectrum, which is what I thought I wanted to do and was going to do. So I instead wound up specializing in home health. I'm a travel occupational therapist, but I specialize in home health. That's where most of my contracts are. And I didn't ever imagine that I would want to work with an adult population, but I love it because at the core, it's the same. We're helping people to live their best life. So for me, what occupational therapy is it's exactly that. It's helping people to live their life in the best way that they possibly can. And that sounds so broad, and it's because it is. We're here, we're trained to find solutions to make that happen. How do we make you live your best life? So in home health, what we would do is, so that would be either habilitation in kids or rehabilitation in adults. So I'll start with kids. With kids, we would work with kids that have developmental delays probably. And that could be, you know, learning their milestones, you know, them learning how to sit up, them learning how to engage with another person, them learning how to feed themselves, and finding ways to adapt to all of those things if they can't do it in the common natural way. It's finding those solutions, finding those adaptations so that people can live their best lives and grow. I just realized Facebook has this new thing where you guys can come on and talk. So if anybody wants to come and chime in and talk about what they see as OT doing, or what you specialize in, or add anything to this conversation, you can click, if you click comments, you can click request to join the conversation. And I'd be super happy to bring you on and talk about this, because I'd love to hear other people's perspectives. So back to pediatrics, another setting that we could work in would be in schools. And so what would we do with kids in schools? It could be, you know, identifying the challenges that they have and finding the solution, whether that's making them better at something so that they can be better at that task, or whether it's modifying the situation or the task itself so that they can succeed. So, you know, if a child is having trouble writing, is it because they're dyslexic and we need to present things in a different way? Is it because their hand is too weak to hold the pencil and we either need to make their hand stronger, or we need to find a new way for them to do that task so that they can be successful, like typing instead of writing? So that's just one example. I know that in schools we do many, many other things like attention and things like that. But that's one example of finding an issue and finding the problem so that someone can live their best life and be successful in their daily life tasks. With adults, it's a lot of times, it's most commonly rehabilitation. So if something happens to you as an adult and it's getting you back to where you were before, or getting you to the best possible outcome so that you can live life in the most successful way. I work in home health. I specialize in home health. And so I work with patients when they are discharged from the hospital and they go home. I show up within the first few days of them getting home and I see, are you capable of taking care of yourself independently or to the level that you were before? Maybe your family took care of you fully before and you don't necessarily need rehab. But if your family doesn't and you were independent before, let's look at what we need to do to get you independent. You know, can you get yourself dressed? Can you do your dishes? Are you able to get your shoes on? Can you feed your pets? Is cooking a challenge for you now? I mean, there's all kinds of issues that people can have in which they would have come from the hospital. You know, were they in a car accident and now they've broken both of their legs and they can't stand up to cook at the stove? Like, let's find a solution for that until you can stand again. Or, you know, are you now paraplegic and you can never stand again, and we need to find a permanent solution to where you can be cooking for yourself or getting meals delivered, because that's just not something that you want to do anymore. So that's really by and large what we do, is we solve problems to get people to their most independent and happy selves. It's really interesting. I've been talking a lot with people about different applications for occupational therapy outside of traditional healthcare. So we have like our traditional 5 settings, and we've been talking about other applications. Like, as you know, if you've watched my other videos, I went to Jamaica for a psilocybin assisted therapy retreat. And in doing that, I saw a huge potential for occupational therapy, working with these adults who didn't have physical impairments that they were showing up with. They were showing up with mental impairments. They were showing up with, you know, PTSD and depression and other cognitive challenges. And we absolutely could help with that. When I was there with my group, we played. It's funny, when you go to grad schools and OT, there's this meme that I posted like a couple months ago in our Facebook group, and it was like, what did it say? It said, OT school is funny because one day you'll be studying neuroanatomy and the next day you'll be hula hooping in the schoolyard. And that's really true. We literally had days where, like, they were like Thursdays where we just played outside and just worked on happiness as adults. Like, as a kid, it's important for you to like play and be happy and live your best life. Like, that's such a huge part of your life. And then as adults, your objective becomes like work. And especially in the United States, that's all we focus on. And so when I was out there, I was sort of focusing on play and being happy. And I did this journaling activity with everyone where we talked about like what used to make us happy and like how do we do that again? Like, when did we stop doing things just for the sake of being happy and living a better life? And I fully believe that people live better lives when they're just happy. And that's so important. You do everything else better in your life when you're happy. So I think that that's just hugely important to keep at the forefront of our minds. And if I can instill that in my patients, I'm so happy to do so. And I feel like if they live a happier, better life after I've left them, then I feel like I've done my job. I had a student ask me last week, you know, what do you do if you feel like in terms of OT, there's not a lot you can do, but you have this scheduled visit with this patient and they just want to have tea with you? Like, what do you do? And my answer to that is, you know, if they don't need any more visits, then you don't schedule any more visits with them. But if they want to have tea with you, and if it's going to make them feel better for the day and be able to do more in their day because they're happier, because they had this human interaction in the middle of COVID, then have a glass of tea with them. And, you know, anything it takes to make them better and healthier and live life better, that is what we do. Anyway, I hope this was helpful for people. Like I said, if you know, I'm going to shut the video off now, but if you want to comment after the video is done and add your insight on what you think OT is and what OT means to you, because it could very well be different than what I say, then please add that, and let's keep educating each other on what we do, what that is, and how we can best help. But everybody have an awesome OT month, and thanks for watching.